Hello, everybody, and welcome to BNOW Coffee
Oh,
with Jeannie and Cindy. You know what this cup says? It says,
what does it say?
you can't make everyone happy, so concentrate on
Me.
me,
Right.
me,
Yep. I
me.
love it. I love it. Well, as much as I would love to change everybody, I really would. I would just love to go in and change everybody. But, first of all, how boring would that be, Cindy?
If we were all the same,
Ah,
we'd be, but I think that there's a force out there that is trying to make us be that.
yeah,
The
absolutely.
TikTok, they call them sheeple or they call them the normies. Those are kind of derogatory terms to label people that are just not, they're just going on with their regular lives and they're not really investigating who the puppeteers are. I should put it that way.
Right, right.
All the puppeteers.
But, coming back to changing people, I can barely change myself.
Yep.
I'm serious. I'm serious. I mean, how many times have I said, oh, I would love to lose 10 pounds? Oh, shut up.
Yeah.
If you want to lose 10 pounds, you would do it.
Yeah.
I wish I was fluent in Spanish. Oh, give me a break. Have you thought about actually studying? Oh, that part. So it's really an interesting topic. And I do want to tell you, last week we were talking about how you and I had both had physical accidents. And I got to tell you, I've been focused every day. And I mean, you can tell my nose and my little raccoon eyes are better. So, but
Exactly.
Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about, and you brought this up after we recorded our last coffee chat, about the observer. And what he says is that there is a part of us that observes. And, you find this out in near-death experiences too. People look down and they see their broken bodies or, whatever. And it's like, but I'm still here. I'm still here. And so what Joe Dispenza says in his last book is called Becoming Supernatural. And he talks about how we are creatures of habit. We did talk about that last week. And saying that we do things the same way over and over and over again. And we talk about, my disease, my, whatever, and we claim it. And he said that everything that you want is in the unknown. So we can stay in the known past. We already know what's happened there. Or we can go into the expected future because we've already determined, that we're never going to have enough money, we're not going to find the love of our life, or we won't be able to buy that house or that car, or start the business, or whatever it is. But what he says, in order to create what you want, you have to step in that gap of the unknown and become the observer. So I know you have some thoughts on that.
Well, there was a cartoon, remember when we were little, I think it was a Bugs Bunny cartoon or something, where you'd see this fighting going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you'd see one of the characters jump out and just watch the chaos.
Uh-huh.
Remember that?
I do.
Yeah. And so that to me is a great illustration of the observer. So when you find yourself in chaos,
Mm-hmm.
if you can shift your perspective to that which is your spiritual self watching you have the human experience, then when you get in a state of chaos, you can pull back and just see it as a movie. Mm-hmm. And that's what we hear all the time right now is it's all a movie. It's all a movie. It's all a movie. Well, life is all a movie. Mm-hmm. And depending what scenery or what characters are in your movie, we can actually choose that. Not now, if you have a job that you have to show up and you have people that you love and not love, and and that's a whole nother story. But for the most part, you can make those choices of what your movie is and what the outcome is going to be. but also last week we talked about the unexpected, right? So be prepared for the unexpected. And like, well, I had a great conversation with my son Jordan. He went and saw Abraham Hicks this week in Orlando.
Wonderful.
There were
Right.
1,300 people. And I said, what was your takeaway?
Uh-huh.
And he said, they kept Abraham
Through Esther Hicks.
Right.
Uh-huh.
They kept saying, I like how he used the plural on that. They kept saying to everybody who was up there with the condition that he says they all tried to validate their story. So they would bring up the past so that Abraham would understand how they got to this place and where they want to shift, right? So the first thing Abraham would say is, let go of the past.
Right.
Let go of all of it.
Right.
And start right now with defining who you are.
Right.
And, I was on a cruise not too long ago, so I pulled out this video that I took. I was on the very bottom level of the ship, and I took a picture of the wake of this big ship, going down. And because I thought it was a great visual of what we need to do. That's leave it in the past. You were there, but you're moving ahead this way.
That's it. The wake is simply proof of where you have been.
Exactly.
So you can look at that and you can claim it, but it comes back to my whole thing is if you say so. If you say so.
Well, you can claim it, but don't blame it.
Yeah.
That just
change it. My very first introduction to real spirituality, I was drugged from church to church to church, but it was all blame and hellfire and brimstone and fear and, trying to please God and all that jazz.
You're just not worth it.
Right. Well, yeah. And you're unworthy. But, I went to the Unity Church in Dallas, and honest to God, I hit that door and I wept the entire time. I may cry now, but it was so powerful. And it was like, wow. And I cried through everything. The songs, the announcements, the service, the meditation.
You mean you went to a church that talked about love?
I know.
What?
And I thought, these people are going to think that I have a horrible disease or something. I'm just crying. But, Dr. Don Curtis had been a Hollywood actor. He was actually in the movie with Charlton Heston. Was it Charlton Heston?
Charlton Heston.
Yeah, about God and about Moses.
Uh-huh.
And because he was a TV actor, he said he wrote a book, and he wrote many, but his first one was about, this is a movie of your own making. And if you don't like it, rewrite the script. Fire the supporting actors. Hire new wardrobe people and grips. Change the location. Scout your own location and change the story. Well, I'm not kidding you. That hit me like right here. It was like, you mean I can do that? I'm not a victim. I can change my story. And that is really what it's about, isn't it? And observing that, just saying, I'm not a victim. And I make decisions, even if I have to go to work with somebody, like you were saying, many people, and I have over the years worked with people that did not please me. But guess what? If I begin to treat them differently, I rewrite the script and everything changes.
Right. And I love that you brought that up. I remember one time I was talking with my daughter, and I had divorced her dad, and she was old enough to understand adult things, right? So I remember I was sitting there saying, well, he did this and he did this and I did this and he did this and he did this to me and this to me. And I went, ew. All of a sudden I went, ew. I'm playing a victim here. Oh my gosh, yuck. So when we go into that whining, well, especially if you find yourself blaming somebody for where you're at,
right?
You're calling victim.
Mm-hmm.
You're calling victim there, and you don't have to be a victim. And another thing that I've learned a lot, bullies will use the victim controlling drama as, say, so they bully you, they hurt you, and then they tell you, well, I had a horrible childhood, or, oh, this happened to me. Or,
Nobody ever did anything for me.
What do you expect? What do you expect? So a lot of times they'll change their story from after they've bullied to why they bully. And this is exactly what Abraham was addressing.
Right.
You don't have an excuse for bad behavior. There's no excuse for that. Mm-mm. Yeah. Don't go into the victim place. Fix it. Just fix it and make yourself a lovable person. But don't be unlovable and do horrible things to people and blame it on something else, because
you bring up a very important point here. And we've talked about this in the past, but it is in creating a new story. It's not just enough to stop talking about, oh, well, he done me wrong and da-da-da and my parents and that third grade teacher and all that bullshit. And just saying, we have to create a new story. And so, otherwise nature abhors a vacuum, that. And so it's like, if we don't plug and play a new story, we're going to default simply by lack of having anything to support who we are and what we're doing. We have to create a new story. And I've talked about this, in the past, and having broken my back, and it's not enough to just give up that whole wah 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 and poor pity me. No, I have to create a new story. Right. So this is a big, and then when I do that, I am aware of myself as the observer. In fact, Dr. Joe Dispenza, I think it was him, said that we are the only animals, if you will, or beings, and we're not even 100% sure of that, but that can be aware of being in this body, be aware of our thoughts, be aware of our actions and our words, but also to observe those from the outside. We not only live it and experience it, we can observe it and then consciously change that. And it's huge.
It is huge.
It is huge. Yeah.
It is huge, because we let other things influence us to make us feel, like you were talking earlier, right, feeling bad about ourselves. And when we feel bad about ourselves, we project that on people. As like my daughter last night, she said, "Mom, are you mad at me?" And I said, "No, I'd had all 4 grandkids."
Yeah.
For most of the weekend. I was exhausted. And I told her, "No, I'm tired. I'm tired, but I'm not angry with you." And how many times do we come off that way? Mm-hmm. People, I told the story about those people who came in at Christmas time for a drink when I was waitressing, and I had brought everybody their drink, and I deliberately had an empty tip tray, and I asked them, "Why is this empty?" Mm-hmm. And they said, "Well, you were rude and you didn't smile." And then some guy said, "I had to get up and get my own coffee." And then, because I'd gone to the back to make fresh, but the bartender brought, whatever. And I said, "Oh, okay, all right." And then some poor guy said, "And don't tell us you're having a bad day." Well, I'm sobbing. I'm having a horrible day, because Julie's dad and I were having a divorce, just all kinds of stuff. But I didn't realize I was coming off as rude. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had no idea that I was coming off as rude. And so sometimes we don't even know that. Mm-mm. We need to pay attention to the way people react to us, because we don't know. We don't know. And that's the observer, is watching you when you feel bad, whatever that emotion is, whatever it is that's making you feel in a negative zone, pull yourself out somehow And I kind of pretend I've got shotgun with God, okay, God, what are we going to do about her right now?
She's a mess. She's a hot mess.
What are we going to do? I got to jump back in that body.
Help me.
So how are we going to deal with this? And then you start asking questions. And when you get down, then you can, okay, this is the core of the reason she's feeling like this.
Right.
And here's the solution.
Yeah. Well, just being observant,
Mm-hmm.
observant and willing to see that,
Right.
And honestly, you have to think about this. And I watched a thing yesterday, this guy who's kind of maybe in his 50s, and he's an artist. And he said he was talking about Melania Trump and how she presents in her clothes and how she got all kinds of shit from, wearing that pith helmet. Well, she's a fashion model. It was an accoutrement, and she frankly doesn't care what people think, and which is great. But he said, I can identify, I'm an artist, I'm a husband, I'm a dad, I'm this, I'm a brother, I'm a child of God. And he said, each of us has to be aware of how we present ourselves and not judge other people for saying, well, she shouldn't be da da da, or he should da da da. And it's like, so when I think about myself, Cindy, and I've really done, and you and I have too, over the years, a lot of introspection about, and you're saying, we don't realize our face is betraying us or whatever. But even to your clothes, what are you wearing? I mean, our dear Misty told a story about buying some shoes at Saks Fifth Avenue or somewhere. And, they had been like $1,000 for tennis shoes, and they were marked all the way down to like, I don't know, $600 or something. And she was so happy with them. But she said, never before would I allow myself. And she said, I feel like I'm walking on clouds. First of all, they're really comfortable, but I give myself permission. Well, I think about myself too. How do I move through time and space? And how do I show up? And what am I wearing? And how am I carrying my body? And what am I projecting? Because we're in charge. Nobody else jumps into my body and does this for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, I just think that these are all questions that we need to say, is observing ourselves from the outside in and from the inside out. And how are we showing up? And is it, most importantly, bringing me the peace and joy that I want?
Right. Jordan, my son always says that when somebody is ugly, it's a projection of their insecurity.
Of course.
And one thing that I learned with the kids, which is a really good thing to do with anybody, when they were little and they would pop off with something ugly to somebody or to a brother or sister, or, because we had 6 between us, so we'd all be together. I would say, go into the bathroom and look yourself in the mirror and say what you just said, the way you just said it, and see what we just all watched, right?
Oops.
Yep. So, and I think maybe that was when the Indians, remember, they would hold up their hand and say, how, I think it was a reflection.
Look at how you're being.
Yeah. Like, it's almost like a namaste. It's like my reflection sees your, we reflect each other.
Yes.
So the observer so that's a really good way to gently tell somebody that you love that they're projecting something that's not loving, right? And just to say, please go look at, or say that again the way you just said it. And they can't do it.
No.
They can't do it.
No.
Because, or I also heard one time that if you hold somebody's hand that you love and say something like that, say, let me have your hand. And now tell me what you just said, the way you just said it. And it's impossible. They cannot do it. But it's a nice way to, okay, so let's talk about what's really bothering you, because the fact that what the issue usually isn't big enough for you to be that angry or that upset.
Yeah.
Right. And
I love that. And I do want to say before we go, we're just a couple of weeks away from our Refresh and Renew abbreviated weekend retreat to kick off the brand new year, 2023, January 14 through 16, over the MLK weekend, because most people have off on Monday.
Right.
And so it'll be Saturday, Sunday, Monday, beautifulnetworkofwomen.com. Why not make this the best year? Why not observe yourself? Why not go into a place filled with love and comfort and fun and music and non-judgment, and get yourself to the point where you are creating the whole year consciously?
Oh, right.
BeautifulWomen.com.
I love the people that are coming.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I cannot wait. And really, especially since I just moved, we sold our house, we're renovating. There's been just a lot of opportunities for me to walk my talk here. But okay. But it really is, I am so looking forward to this time.
Yeah.
And we've put out the call. The angels are on it. God's on it. So if you're feeling that tug in your heart, I need to go. Yes, you do.
Yes,
and
you
we
do.
need to have you here. We need to witness you.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. I love you, my friend.
Love you too. Okay.
Talk to you next week.
Okay. Bye.